So this morning we're once again going to address some of the questions that you readers of the Capital Journal Daybreak newsletter have sent in. I've got 3 of them here. Let's jump right into them. The first one that came in from a reader is a really interesting one. Do you think there are parallels between now and the era just before the start of World War II? Fascinating question because there are some parallels. I think they're somewhat striking in several respects. The first one is populism. There was a big populist movement in the wake of the Great Depression leading up to World War II. We're seeing some echoes of that now. It was an era of nationalism, obviously in Nazi Germany and elsewhere, and in Japan. A lot of nationalism you can see particularly in Europe now, but especially in Russia, and that's another parallel. Third, there was a militarization in the years before World War II, obviously. There's arguably some militarization going on right now in Russia and China in particular. Big difference, though. The spread of democracy has now made it, I think, less likely that big countries can just sort of wander into war. People do have a break on this process. Second question is this. I have never understood how a president can be president of the United States of America and at the same time raise funds for himself and his party and for individual senators and congressmen during his tenure. Well, it is a troubling part, I suppose, of American democracy that a president has to be both a leader of the country and the leader of his political party at the same time. That's an inescapable fact. It's not a parliamentary system in which this would be even more the fact that the prime minister would be the leader of the party first and the leader of his country second, but the president has to wear both parts. I guess if you're troubled by it, one consoling fact would be that there is a certain accountability to some people in his own party that a president does have to worry about. The fact that he has to raise money, perhaps an unfortunate side effect of that, but it's not going away. Third question, with significant spending on military action in Syria and required social program spending, how has the drop in oil price truly affected the average citizen of Saudi Arabia? Well, I think so far not much. The Saudis went into this period in which they are actually, to some extent, driving down oil prices by keeping production up to push marginal production out of the marketplace. But they did that because they knew they had more substantial cash reserves going into this period than anybody else did, $700 billion plus. They knew they had a cushion. They can ride through this period and make sure that they protect market share. Their calculation was they had enough cash reserves to make sure they didn't shortchange their people. I think so far that's still the case. We'll have more questions next week, more answers too, I hope. We'll talk to you then.